What's up, guys? Today we've got another pair of MartinLogan speakers. These are the MartinLogan Classic ESL9s. The previous MartinLogans that we reviewed, which were the 13As and also the ESLXs, these are kind of in between the 13As and above the ESLXs. So this I believe is their entry model into the Masterpiece series, which is kind of like their higher end series of electrostatic speakers. If you wanted to fit in here, you could fit in here and ship somebody off. Inside the packaging, we got the accessories box. Inside the accessories box, we've got the spiked feet. Right there, there's 4 of these in there. Owner's manual. And in this little box, we've got the power supply. The power supply is what supplies power to the electrostatic panel. These might look really heavy, but they're actually not really heavy. They're bottom heavy. The top portion of the speaker weighs pretty much nothing, but all the weight is going to come from the bottom. Look at that. Now that's very nice. This still has dual 8-inch drivers. There's an 8-inch woofer on the front, right behind this grill. I don't know if you can see that behind the grill, but there's an 8-incher there. You can pop this off. There's another 8-incher right there. And the frequency response of this guy goes down to 33 Hertz. Also behind here, we've got some binding posts. So if you want to buy wire these, buy amp these, you can do that as well. You got your high frequency in the top, low frequency in the bottom. There is your power input for the AC adapter. You got a little LED indicator light for power. This is 60 inches tall by 10.5 inches wide by, I think it was like 20.5 inches deep. If we can tilt this back a little bit and check out the feet. You can unscrew these to either put the spikes in, or you got these if you want to put them on hardwood flooring, if you don't want to scratch up your hardwood floor. And these are adjustable, so if you want to get them level to your floor, if you've got some crooked floors, you can level them here as well. And this does use MartinLogan's curvilinear electrostatic panel. So it's got a 30-degree dispersion pattern, which should give you a nice wide sweet spot. Let's go ahead and check out the matching center channel speaker. This is the MartinLogan C18. So in the box, we get a wall mounting bracket, so you can mount this flush to your wall. And here we have the power adapter for the electrostatic panel. Remember, the panels need to be powered. And here are some more brackets. And here we have some documentation, the owner's manual, some wire management, and some screws to affix it to the mounting bracket. And here is the speaker itself. Look at that, that's pretty nice. So it's a pretty big speaker. Width-wise, it measures about 43 inches wide. It's fairly long. Depth-wise, at its deepest point, is about 9.25 inches deep. And height-wise, it is about 9.5 inches in height. And like I said, it does weigh a hefty 50 pounds. Behind this grill, which is non-removable, there is a 1-inch folded motion tweeter. There are 2 6.5-inch drivers in here. And as far as the electrostatic panel, there is a 7.5-inch by 18-inch wide electrostat panel behind this grill as well. You can see here that it has that 30-degree curvilinear design to it. So it should get a fairly wide dispersion pattern to cover not only the money seat, but also the off-angle seats as well. And let's take a look around back here. So on the furthest end here, you have your high-quality binding posts. Nice little touch. And there's also a little position switch, which tells you which is for mounting. So it's either off wall or on wall. So this will affect the frequency response of the speaker, depending on how you have it mounted or if you put it on a tabletop stand. The frequency response for this is 23K down to 50 Hertz. So it should have some ample low end. So let's go ahead and get these things set up. I'm going to be placing the speakers in my living room surround setup. It's in a 5.1 configuration with a pair of MartinLogan SLMs being used as surrounds. If you haven't seen the review for those, I'll leave a link for that video down below in this video's description. I'll also be using a Kaleidoscape and an Apple TV for demos. The speakers will be hooked up to an Emotiva XPA-7 amplifier for power and an Emotiva MC255 processor. Since I don't have a matching MartinLogan subwoofer, I'm going to be running all the speakers full range. This is going to let me hear how dynamic these are on their own without any help down low. First demo we're going to check out is Underwater. It's got a 5-channel mix with excellent subtle ambiance and bombastic bass response.
This better not be some 20,000 leagues under the sea shit, man.
Just as they are for 2-channel listening, the ESL9s are just as ultra detailed for movie soundtracks. There's a ton of little atmospheric effects like droplets of water and little creaks and bangs that are present in this movie. On my normal setup, which are also MartinLogan SLMs all around, those have a more direct sound and lack the almost holographic presentation of the electrostatic panels. With the ESLs, the front soundstage vanishes and you'll hear those little tiny effects that seem to come from several feet beyond the speakers, both forward and backwards. As for the surround speakers, they do have a spacious effect, but lack the delicate transparency of the ESL9s, so they don't stretch the surround effects quite as deep as the front 2 channels. Now, of course, the SLMs are still highly capable of delivering subtle ambiance, but they do lack any appreciable amount of bass. Given the size, it's no surprise. So in an ideal setup, you'd have to have them crossed over at around 100 Hz or so. The center channel shares the same high frequency detail as the surrounds, seeing as they both have a folded motion tweeter, and it did match well with the ESL9s to anchor the effects dead center. To give the center channel a little more to do, we're going to throw in Midway next. This has got a demo-worthy mix for both bass, and the sound movement is top-notch. Even without a subwoofer, the ESL9s have got enough low end to shake my living room. They're not going to rattle your teeth like a dedicated subwoofer would, but if you couldn't fit a subwoofer in your space, I don't think you'd be too disappointed not having one. I found the bass response from the Dual 8s hard-hitting for all the explosions, and with the extended soundstage from the stat panels, the rumble from the planes seemed to come like they were from a mile away, which matches exactly what you're seeing on screen. What's also impressive, since we're running all the speakers full range, was the amount of bass the center channel can produce. It's nowhere near what the left and right channels can do, but those explosions can definitely be felt, and the mid-range is fairly thick. There's zero bass in the back channel, so we don't need to get into that. The high-end response with all the gunshots and flyovers remained consistent across all the channels, and never got harsh or ear-piercing at loud levels. And let's check out The Rise of Skywalker next and see how well the center channel handles dialogue.
You will rule all the galaxy as the new Emperor. But beware, she is not who you think she is.
Who is she?
With all the channels going, the Emperor's voice almost sounds like it's coming at you from above. The bass from his voice is so deep with the ESL9s, I could feel it vibrate my seats. Letting the C18 run solo, I could hear and feel the chestiness coming from the dual 6.5s, and with a little room gain, I could even feel the floor shaking under the TV. And that's just with the center channel playing. Another thing I liked with the center channel was how well it handled dialogue at loud volumes, which can make other center channels distort.
On. Ah! Fire! On what? On. Ah! Fire! On what? Down 15. Ah! Ready. Fire! On what? Down 15. Ah! Ready. Fire! On what?
Now, I'm not knocking that Focal center channel, but it's pretty clear how edgy it sounded in comparison to the C18. At the time of this video, the ESL9s are $7,000, the C18 center channel is $3,850, and the SLMs are $500 each. If you want to go with the larger SLM XLs, those are $700 each.
As a whole, this was a fantastic sounding system, and paired with the ESL9 sounded way larger up front than any 5-channel setup I've heard so far. That being said, if I was buying a MartinLogan home theater based on their electrostats, I don't think I'd use the SLMs for surrounds if I had the space. I'd likely buy their on-wall EFXs, which are on-wall electrostats. As good as the folded motion tweeters are, they're just not as delicately transparent as a stat panel. Once you hear the microdynamics from the ESLs, it's hard to listen to anything else. Because of the dipole design of the ESLs, they create such a huge space around the speaker, whereas the SLMs are much more direct and shallow sounding in comparison. So when the plane flies from front left, it sounds like it's coming from a much larger area till it hits the surrounds. Then it sounds like it's right next to you, so there is somewhat of a slight disconnect there. If you could put matching ESL9s for surrounds, then it'd probably sound like you're in some kind of virtual world, as the timbre would be perfect. Now, like I said, the ESL9s have their own kind of flavor, which is spaciously detailed because it is a dipole. Dipole meaning sound radiates forward and backwards of the speaker. A traditional speaker like the SLM shoots sound forward only, so you might find the sound too big on the ESL9, or you may like it, or you may prefer the more direct sound of a traditional front-firing speaker. This is a totally subjective thing, of course. As for the center channel, it's in the upper tier for best sounding that I've had in any of my setups. It's a big speaker, so be sure you've got adequate space. With its large size, you get large sound. The bass, while not as deep as an ESL9, will still make its presence felt if you're crossing it down over lower than the standard 80 Hz. As mentioned earlier, it dug deep enough and actually delivered a punch that not many dedicated center channels can do. The mid-range is smooth and gave deep masculine voices a throaty resonance that can actually be felt. It's an excellent match for the ESL9s, but like the SLMs, it's a front-firing speaker and lacks some of the depth of the 9s. I'd like to try either a matching ESL9 or an EFX as a center channel to see how much that would affect the front soundstage, but I'd need a much larger space to pull that one off. All in all, if you can't fit 5 or 7 matching ESL9s in your theater, this is as good as it gets. The ultra-fine detail from an electrostat panel in my book is a tough thing to beat, and the folded motion tweeters do an awesome job in matching that detail. Pair the system with a balanced force subwoofer and you've got one killer system for both movies and music. And even if you don't have a sub, it's still got some kick-ass bass. So those are my thoughts on this MartinLogan home theater setup. Do you guys have any of these speakers, and if so, how do you like their performance? Leave a comment down below and let us know. As always guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video if you found it useful, follow us on social media, and if you like the content, consider joining our Patreon. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you again in the next video.